We've got plenty happening here, but I just want to share with you the expedition boxes because they're becoming really, really popular, and the amount of different lithium batteries that we're either dropped off, sent to use what the customer wants is amazing. But I'm just going to run through a few of the different units that we're building here because we're not keeping it to the same thing every time as a routine. We're building it to what the customer wants. So with this one here, it's actually going to sit that way in the back of his four-wheel drive. And he's got got a 150 Prado, I think it is, or a 120 Prado. And we're putting it onto this floor that we've made down here. So we've got a floor down here. It'll sit there like that with another one sitting on top with his fridge there. So that's in the Prado. But just to tell you what's in it, we've got the DC to DC e-power. We've got the 240 volt, 40 amp e-power. We've got two 100 amp lithiums sitting right here. And so that'll sit on top of there. It'll have his 2000 watt inverter in it. Now, our connection is with this whopper of an Anderson plug. So this is a 300 amp Anderson. And as you can see, they're a pretty big unit. But just to give you a bit of a concept, we all have our 50 amp Andersons that we use on the back of our vehicles, or what we use to plug into our Power Easy boxes. And then we have the 300. So you can sort of see the thickness and you can feel the weight in these. So you've got a pretty good connection there to plug that into his 200 amp lithiums right here. So that's one set. So that lid goes on top of this box here, sitting there and plugs in at the back here. So that's just one of them. Now this one here at the front is, this is still on the build, so it's still work in progress, but this is another big system. So it's got a BTEC Lithium 200 in it. It'll have the DC 40 e-power, and it'll have the 20 amp e-power 240 volt charger in there as well. But he actually wants a few extra USBs and whatnot in that, but it'll be the same concept. He'll have a 2000 watt Enerdrive 2000 watt inverter on it, which will plug in with the same sort of Anderson plugs. That's his setup. Now this one here, this is our base setup that we do, which has got your 20 amp e-power, your 40 amp DC to DC, your 400 watt inverter, your 100 amp lithium. This is just one kind of lithium. This is an all sparks one. And then we jump over to this one. Well, this is still work in progress, this one. Now on this one, we have got a 40 amp DC to DC from Red Arc going in it. This one's actually going into a boat. So he doesn't actually want a 240 volt charger or an inverter in this one. And then we move to this one. This one's just been completed. So again, if you come around to this side, you can see the gauge. So we've got our percentage gauge here, which is the ePro. Then we've got our USB socket over here. And then we've got our two SIG sockets. We've got our 20 amp e-power charger. We've got our 40 amp e-power DC to DC. We've got a 150 amp lithium and a 400 watt inverter. And of course, everything's measured on the shunt through this meter here. So that's what this customer wanted for his setup. And then over here, it just keeps on going. We've got our e-power DC to DC sitting here on top of the Power Easy box. Now we do these both ways with Red Arcs in them as well as these. And in this one, we've actually got a lithium, I believe, by the weight. So this one has got, yep, it's got a hardcore 100 amp lithium in it. So that's that one. And then this one, we've got a 700 watt inverter here. Well, this is the next build that we haven't started yet. That'll go into this expedition box, and that will have your 40 amp DC to DC from Red Arc in it, and it'll have a BTEC 125 lithium in it as well. So I just thought I'd give you an update and share with you what we've been up to, but we haven't done a lot on social media because we've been flat out. But by all means, drop a comment down below or fire away, ring us up, ask any questions.